Trump's tariffs crushed the arms market. Suppliers are hiking prices on raw materials and components, driving up costs on everything from shells to fighter jets. American journalists have analyzed the fallout from these new tariffs. Now, American arms manufacturers will have to explore import substitution, but they won't be able to completely switch to domestic raw materials. The US simply lacks many of the rare earth metals that used to come from China.
Exactly. Trump's new tariff on China raises the total effective tax rate all the way up to 145%.
As a direct response, Beijing moved swiftly to block all supplies headed to American drone manufacturers. This action effectively cut off air, land, and sea drone developers from vital Chinese components. Furthermore, Beijing also began strictly controlling exports to the US of rare earth minerals, which are absolutely essential for the production of our high-tech weapon systems.
Okay, so these are thermal scans and satellite weapons. We're seeing a huge range of weaponry here, and it requires not just ordinary microchips, but really complex combinations with large capacity and extremely high power capabilities.
Last year, China really showed the world just how much influence it could wield over Western arms production. Remember when Beijing effectively cut off Europe's gunpowder supply? That one move prevented NATO from delivering its promised artillery shells to Ukraine, which led to critical shortages and significant price hikes across the board. Now, there's a very real concern that Beijing could repeat that same trick, but this time targeting American manufacturers.
A 155mm shell. An M777 howitzer used to cost around $800. Before the tariffs, it was already $2,000. Now it's not just a percentage increase, it could easily be $3,000 or more depending on the market.
Germany will suffer the most, producing a lot of weapons and equipment, including for the US. The old world's defense industry is closely intertwined with the American one. For example, over 1,000 companies in Britain, Australia, and Germany produce and supply components for the F-35 fighter. Now, many will have to either close or reload the F-35 fighter.
When you think about it, many of them are already owned by American or British entities anyway, so it makes sense.
The relocation of factories from Europe to the United States will undoubtedly have a detrimental impact on the Ukrainian army. With American military aid, now uncertain European nations are struggling to compensate for the shortfall they now face. The additional risk of losing their own defense industry capabilities we've already seen. Norway delayed the delivery of Nassim's air defense systems. To give these systems are crucial as they protect the Ukrainian capital from ongoing Russian attacks.
Given that situation, Europe's defense industry will inevitably collapse and be forced to shut down completely. They simply won't be able to effectively compete with the US on a global scale, and restructuring their industries, well, the US is undoubtedly in a much better position to adapt. It can put its entire economy on a war footing significantly faster and far more efficiently than the European Union could ever hope to achieve.
Producing missiles for American patriots is expensive and takes time. With the new tariffs, the US defense industry will reduce production. The American army in Israel will get the munitions first, and they might not even reach the Ukrainian armed forces. Trump's tariffs will also hit Ukrainian businesses that finance and supply the Ukrainian armed forces. Ukraine exported 600 types of goods to the US. From pipes to wrenches, pig iron is the most profitable category. Now it's more profitable for American companies to buy it in Brazil. Ukrainian experts predict that some manufacturers will simply leave the market. The cost of American weapons is definitely going to skyrocket, but Washington really doesn't seem to care all that much, do they? They'll still be forced to buy guns, tanks, and missiles from the US, and regardless of the price, Europe simply won't have enough of its own weapons to continue this armed conflict for much longer. Kiev will ultimately pay all of the expenses with loans allocated by its Western allies. As always, while the saga of introducing and then delaying tariffs in such a short time frame has already resulted in the wealthiest individuals in the US gaining over $300 billion.